Welcome to the Playful Domme, the Poly Wife, and the Virgin podcast, where we share our most intimate stories, experiences, and details of our love lives, our intimacy lives, our play lives, and giving you the opportunity to gaze in and get a glimpse of what could be possible in your life as well. As we share our stories, our adventures, we weave in tips, tricks, and techniques to help build your confidence, boost your courage, and give you the opportunity to ask for what you want in your life. Welcome to the podcast. Oh, and just a couple of quick thoughts before we get started. One, we are just everyday people. We are not professionals, licensed therapists, anything like that. This is for edutainment purposes only. This is not medical advice or legal advice, financial advice, nothing like that. Listen at your own discretion. And this is for mature audiences. We're going into deep subjects and sharing deeply about intimacy and all the things about that. So just notice who you're around and let's go. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Playful Domme, the Poly Wife, and the Virgin podcast, where we women dive into our personal stories and adventures, experiences, and explorations into sensuality, kink, intimacy, relationships, and all the things that are hot and juicy. Today, we've got Ella, who is about to pose a question to myself and Lisa about sexy things with our partners, and then going on from there. Take it away, Ella.
Hi, Jess and Lisa. Thank you so much. Thank you, listeners, for listening to us. So probably much like our listeners, I love our podcasts, but oftentimes I think a lot. And one of the questions, I have a long-term a boyfriend. He's a great lover. But at a certain point, I don't know if it's life or I don't know what happens. I'm going to say he's a great lover. It's like, how do you keep the spark? And I guess my question is, especially with Lisa, because she has multiple partners. She has I think 5 and are stable currently right now. Do you ever let your body rest? Sometimes I get sore. Sometimes maybe I just don't have the, I'm going to use the word energy to go, make love have great, hot, playful sex for a few hours a night. So Lisa, Jess, how do you guys keep it exciting and keep it alive and take care of yourself?
That's a really great question. And in truth, it's honestly been a really long time since I had sex 4 or 5 times a week with anyone, right? So I'm actually not having a lot of sex. I have a lot of partners, but not all of my partners are people that I have sex with. So, and that is something that I'm kind of explaining a little bit by little bit on my TikToks. But honestly, I've been reviewing my stable and I have 6 partners, and I am currently having intercourse with one of them. I have some sexual activity with others, but I only have sex with one of them, and it happens to be Luke. And so I saw him this week, but he and I haven't been together since January by ourselves. So I haven't had, I think I've had intercourse once with somebody else, with my cub.
Okay.
Before he left, but that was also January. So I don't have a good answer for that.
So again, this is the stuff we make up in our head based on, again, being poly and being playful, is that I just assumed, and maybe most of our listeners would assume that, again, there would be lots of intercourse, because again, I'm 53. I'm a mature woman, or as we would say, right. Select, however we want to put that. And it's not like we once were in our 20s. And I wasn't sure if, because you're stable and then you create this really cool, you're excited to see him and maybe some of the hormones around that. But my goodness, you answered my question.
Well, wow. Actually, this has been an issue for the last few months. My professor came over last weekend.
Okay.
And so here's what's happened in the last couple of months. Let me see. I have seen my cub, my professor, Sapio, Orion, and Luke.
Okay.
So of the 5 of them, I would say 3 of them are in their 50s and 2 of them are younger, right?
Okay.
And younger doesn't necessarily mean better at all in any way whatsoever. Just saying. So with the cub, things are very fast, right? Because, he doesn't have a lot of experience. We don't have any, or it's really with him, it was just intercourse. So, literally in and out, we're done, right? So, and then he left, he's gone, he's skiing somewhere. So what I realized last week was with the 4 people that I have been with in the last 3 months, I actually have only had intercourse twice, once in January and once this week. And when the professor came over last weekend, he had some red spots on his cock, and he showed them to me, and he wanted me to make an informed decision about whether we would have any kind of cock play because of these abrasions, is the best way to put it. And he says, I want you to be able to make an informed decision. I was like, yeah, my answer is no, I can't. I want to, but I can't. He doesn't do great with condoms. And so we were like, yeah, you know what, let's just not even, and you always use with him, I always use condoms. And I was like, I see that there's nothing here. This is really just, like you used your towel too hard drying off.
Yeah, sure.
Thing, right. It was just a red spot. And, but I had to say no to that. And I laughed and I said, you know what? I don't know what's going on, but because when I was with Luke, the previous 2 times I was in 2 threesomes with him.
Okay.
And the first time I was with Ms. B, and they had intercourse, but I didn't have intercourse with him. And then 5 days later, we went to a swingers club, and he had intercourse specifically with somebody else while I sat on her face. So that was a really fantastic experience for me. I'm not at all complaining, but I realized that I wasn't actually having intercourse with all of these men that I'm with. We may have some intimacy, some oral sex or something like that, but really I'm not getting any cock in my body, right?
Interesting.
So I realized
Jess?
that.
Yeah, go ahead. Lisa.
And so I mentioned that, I said, oh my God, I don't know what it is, but I am not getting any cock, and I don't understand why I'm not having why I don't have any sex. I don't know what's going on. And he said, you know what, I was going to mention this, but I'm wondering, but I was afraid that you would feel insulted. And I said, well, what is it? And he says, I'm wondering if your menopause is causing you not to have pheromones. Is your pheromones, and if the lack of pheromones is creating a lack of desire in your partners, because nobody doesn't want to be with me. There isn't anybody who just doesn't want to be with me. They want to hang out with me, but they're not ripping my clothes off, right? So I thought about it and I was like, okay, I am going to take a look at that. And I bought some pheromones and I wore them and I had sex with Luke.
Interesting.
So I wore this little perfume that had pheromones. Jess, do you have anything to add to this question? Because you actually are having a lot of sex with Josh.
I have been, but in the last couple of weeks, it's calmed down quite a bit. And there's a part of me that's like, oh my God, is there something wrong?
Yeah.
But also not trying to get too focused on that because we're also really fucking tired. So like, we're just like a lot of activity happening in our life. He's doing some really big, important things in his work. I just did my women's event. I've got another event. I've got travels coming up. There's a lot. And then, where do we meet? And then there's also still like the little squabbles that come up, and that of course is not sexy. So it's, we're kind of like navigating
you know, the bits and pieces of us as we go. And then it's like, oh, what happened to those days when we had sex for 4 hours? Like, you know, where are those days? And I think that I know actually that relationships go through seasons, and we can make ourselves bad and wrong for it, and compare and worry, and be distraught and fraught, and oh gosh, we're losing the thing, and it's a phase and it's a time, and like our bodies need rest and our bodies need recalibration, and it needs to like get back into homeostasis. Like I'm about to be gone for 9 days, and like I don't know, like 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, I had sent Josh a text. I was like, you know, I'm okay with you, you know, having sex with somebody while I'm gone. And I meant it at the time because we were talking to different women and like maybe having like a three-way experience, and so in my head, based on that, I was like, you know, maybe between now and then, there one of the women that I think there was like 2, you know, maybe there will be something available, and you know, and maybe my nervous system will be okay with it. But during that time, what happened is there was a night where it could have gone all the way, and my nervous system couldn't, like, I got saturated at the point of seeing him gaze at her the way that he gazes at me. And that was like enough, like for my body to handle and that withstand. And that was at the end of my event. So then it's like, I've been cranking at this thing, and like, you know, so, you know, how would I feel if I was well rested and, you know, feeling, you know, really secure and like, you know, all these things. And I think we haven't assessed this yet, but I think part of it's kind of like in the excitement of what's possible, and like, oh, you know, and then, but Jess has to make sure she feels like, we need to make sure that we feel super, super solid. So then we're like really pouring in a lot of extra tending and nurturing and care to make sure we feel really, really, really good. And then I think that there was a bit of a letdown for him. We haven't really like circled back about this, but I think there was, because I was getting prepared for like everything to happen. I was getting prepared to, like, in my head of like perhaps seeing him have intercourse with another woman in front of me, you know. So like I like increased my thinking it, so like preparing myself, and then I mean, it didn't get they didn't even kiss, they didn't even get to the kissing part, and I was just like, okay, I'm full, you know. And so for him, it's like kind of like we haven't discussed this, so I don't want to speak for him, but for the woman, she was like, you can have as many fantasies as you want and still at the end of the day decide this isn't what you want, and that's okay. Like, you know, she was very much more, she cared more about my connection with her than anything with Josh, because she's a priestess, because she's like one of my sisters. And so for me, I'm like, oh, anyways, it's a whole story. But what I will say is that it's normal to need a break. It's normal to, I do believe it's normal to like get back into our bodies. There's how to keep the spark alive. Well, you know, it's, you know, how do you keep the fire going, you know, without it going completely cold? And
I think, just for me, and I think my real question is, what about self-care? Because again, you're very familiar with the yoni and the yoni massages, and again, self-care. I mean, really, you are, and Lisa as well. So how do you get to that point where it's like, oh man, you know, again, it's not as, I'm going to use the word as juicy as it once was. And then, you know, I mean, like you said, maybe, is it a season? Do you take a break, and how do you re-spark that?
I guess my question to you is, what is it that you're actually asking? Are you asking how you can communicate with your partner that you don't feel sexy and don't want to have playtime? Are you wanting to communicate to your partner that you just want to have a quote unquote physical break? You want to see him and do all of
I think
social stuff, but have a physical break? Or do you want to, are you in a sexual rut and want to, change things?
Well, obviously I would always love to go to one of your guys' retreats. So that's on my list, get a couple of retreats. That's without saying. So, but again, I'm going to say a great lover. I think it's just more about my body as a mature woman saying, okay, and I didn't realize that you didn't have sex, like all, I'm going to say all the time, right? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So, but we're very sexual. So it's like, oh, I need time out. I need a break, right? Again, it's just not as juicy as it once was.
So if your body, okay. So again, I'm asking questions so that I can give you a good answer.
Yeah, sure. So, answer them both, because I think it's really important. Maybe one of our listeners has another.
Well, because again, what my question is, if your body needs a break, is it a break from all sexual activity? Because if you simply don't want, like, let's
I just say intercourse. I think I need a break from intercourse.
So why don't you, so like, for instance, one of the games that Ev and I used to play, my husband and I used to play, is I would choose a piece of lingerie or an outfit of lingerie and only allow him to touch me wherever the lingerie didn't exist. So if I had underwear on, it was non-genital play, right? I could do anything to him, but he couldn't touch me in any place where I was physically covered. And that creates a lot of like, how can I get a response without paying attention to focused areas, right? So another thing that you can do is simply say, you know what, I would really love to try something other than intercourse tonight. I would love to just cuddle and lie with you. So Sapio and I had 4 very clarifying conversations this week with my lovers, and mostly because I had a jealousy issue and I needed to clear that up, and I wanted to address that. I have had that was the big one. And also, where are we in our relationship?
Yeah, sure.
Conversations. Yeah. So that's the conversation I'm having with Orion, because, Orion has been here for 3 months, and we haven't had like even a lunch together. And so I'm wondering, how is it that if I'm in a relationship with you, we aren't even communicating? Right? He was talking to my husband more. I was going to the museum and having lunch with his wife, my meta, more than I was seeing him. And I was interesting. I needed to have a conversation with him. So as a matter of fact, he's coming over here later for us to have our very first alone time since November.
Wow.
And so we have to have a conversation about that, because it doesn't work for me to be in a relationship with somebody that I have no communication.
Yeah, right.
Not when the expectation is that we should have more communication, right?
Yeah, sure.
And then but one of the things that I'm doing, because we have lost our connection, I'm not going to have sex with him, right? I need to reconnect and be with him. So I'm not going to have sex with him, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to touch him or be touched by him.
I see. Okay.
So one of the questions I was answering on my TikTok is, what do you still have intimacy with your husband? And here I'm happy to, say, hey, listen, we do not have intercourse currently, but we have all kinds of intimacy that aren't intercourse. If you talk about I'm intimate with you, but we're not having sex, but we're talking about really intimate things, and it creates a bond and a connection that is intimacy without being physical, right?
Yeah.
So Orion's coming over this afternoon, and I'm going to give him a sensual body massage. So I'm going to have my hands all over him. So if you don't want to have intercourse, why don't you offer up your partner a physicality that allows you to, quote unquote, serve him.
Yeah, sure.
Without it being physically physical for you, if that makes sense.
I love it. It's great reminders. I already know this. I've been on these podcasts, so that's good.
And yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and the flip is, what would please me now?
Yeah.
So what would please me? What would please me is, you know, laying on the couch and him rubbing my feet. What would please me is us cuddling together in bed. What would please me is, you know, getting into the shower together and, you know, lathering each other up. What would please me? You know, so that, because again, men want to win. So and Midori talks about this, like, you know, you could have set up a sexy date, you know, for Wednesday at 8 p.m., you know, and you've put it on the calendar, and fuck, you know, that day arrives and your kid is a sloth and, you know, orders aren't working out, and you get home and it's like the very, very last thing you absolutely want to do is have a sexy date with this person.
Yeah,
that, you know,
exactly.
You've been looking forward to. So it's like, okay, so you can say like, you know, I've had just a really long day, and I know that we've had this sexy date planned and I'm just not there yet, but you know, what really pleased me is for you to draw me a really nice bath and, you know, help me maybe with a glass of wine and light some candles and just letting me sink in and relax into my body. And, you know, I can't promise, you know, what could happen, but, you know, that would feel really, really good for me, you know. So, and being able to say that in a way that's truthful, but also enticing. It's not about leading people on, it's just where you're at right now. I do not want to have sex. Okay. But I don't want to like not be in the same room as you.
Yeah, for sure.
And like Lisa said, intimacy is a spectrum, and there's a lot of things about what intimacy is. It goes far beyond just intercourse. And also like honoring your body. That's like my pussy, my yoni, my womb, she needs a little break. You know, like, and you know, can we spend the next few days or the next week just like you know, easing it in? He can give you a yoni massage, he can give you a body massage, you know, he can do those things. You can take care of yourself. And when you mention self-care and everything, you know, for us, like our yonis definitely deserve us to give our own loving care and kindness and touch that no one else can, because they can't read us, they don't know us like we know ourselves. But I get it. So communication. I need to come to
one of your events. I think I mean, I've been ready for it for months, and I just need to put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
And I would love a couples one, again, a really simple couples one, like I said, because I'm very vanilla, and I just want, you know, introduction and your general kindness. And
I think you want more of like an intensive private than a retreat with other couples. I think it's something you want to speak on your partner, which is of course totally fine. I can definitely do. But I think that, you know, Lisa was spot on by asking the clarifying questions, like what actually are you asking for? What actually do you want? Because then from that place you can have those better conversations.
Yep. Yeah. And I appreciate you bringing up that story about the bathtub, Jess, because I used it this week with Luke. And I was saying that I had a bad day and that I really was looking forward to our time together, but I needed some transition time. And I have roughly an hour's drive to see him. And when I got there, I was still stressed out. And I used that story and that example. And so we sat down and we just had a drink and we chatted and we talked. We took a walk and went for dinner. And then I was ready and happy. And I know that I could have said to him, you know what, I can't right now because I can't. And we would have found other things to do. And that also reminds me, I had a conversation with another partner who is in his 50s and very worried about, you know, his ability to continue to perform. He loves sex. He has sex 3 or 4 times a week, absolutely enjoys it. And he's saying, you know, one of the reasons I stay in really good shape is I need to have my ability because I love fucking, right? This is what I love doing. And I'm really worried that I won't be able to. And I said, just because your penis doesn't work doesn't mean that you can't have really great sex. Remember, you have a mouth and fingers too. And suddenly, like, this look came over his face, like, holy crap, I completely forgot that I don't have to be cockcentric, right? That there's so much that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Not just do, but enjoy. That doesn't mean that I have to always have sex. And so
yeah, it's really great.
Because when I said earlier that I'm facing a lot of non-cock play, it's because, and all ages, from in their 40s to their 60s, I have experienced a lot of ED. And I am not, I don't care about it anymore, because one of the things
that's a great topic we need to talk about as well. That was the most profound statement.
Yeah, it's
You've
like,
I don't, a lot of it doesn't matter.
I don't care if you have a limp dick. You have fingers. You have a mouth. Like yesterday, I don't know, this weekend I sat on Tony's face.
Oh, Lisa, I love you.
When you sat on my face, I was just like, holy crap, that was amazing. And I was like, really? Because I'm not that comfortable with it. He goes, oh yeah, you can do that anytime. Just sit on my face anytime. So I'm like, okay. Love you. Like, okay. So I did. And that was actually with Sapio. That was one of my clarifying conversations, because he and I needed to have a conversation about the fact that we don't have intercourse. And we even masturbated together, and it was just weird and awkward. And I was like, what is going on? I don't understand why it isn't easy for us. And I don't know why it is, but both of us have decided to just take intercourse off the table. It's not something that's easy for us to do, I don't know why. And so we were like, you know what? We don't have to have that as part of our dynamic. We can just enjoy ourselves and do other things that we. Yeah,
that's great. It's such a great reminder. And so simple, but such a great reminder.
I really appreciated that. So and the other clarifying conversations, I really wanted to hit up this jealousy thing. I had been with Luke and Ms. Bia, and the three of us had this really unbelievable, fantastic time. And then they each asked me, did we talk about this already?
No.
This threesome thing. Okay, so we had.
We talked about the threesome. You said it was amazing.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was amazing, and we set up a date for 2 weeks ago, I think. So it was roughly 3 weeks later for the three of us to get together again. And I started to, in the week leading up to that date, I was feeling really anxious, and I was like, I'm feeling jealous. I'm feeling jealous of them. They're dating each other, and I'm jealous, and I don't get jealous. I don't care about my lovers having other lovers. I don't care about my love. I introduced them. The whole point of me introducing them was to have them date, because it was somebody that I knew that they would get along. He's good for her. And I knew that it would be a dynamic that would work for them. And I could not figure out why I was jealous. And I worked on that. Somebody was asking me about jealousy in relationships, and I'm not a person who gets jealous. Polyamory is super easy for me. I share, right? It's easy. So why am I feeling jealous about these two? I'm in comparison. She's hot as fuck, right? She's a really hot woman, or at least I find her to be very hot. And I'm not interested in women, but I see the attraction, right? And the two of them really hit it off. They had this incredible passion. And that's what I realized was where I was jealous, is that they had this primal attraction for each other that he doesn't have with me. We have a very friendly, loving, the best way to put it is sort of married dynamic, right? We can talk about anything. We can talk for hours. It's very sapio. We can talk for hours. We're very comfortable.
You've always said that about him. Yeah.
But we're not like, I don't walk in and he's ripping my clothes off, right? Which is how I imagine the two of them together, because I saw how they were like going at each other when the three were together. And it was hot to watch. I mean, I came everywhere, right? I totally enjoyed it. But I felt like if I am with them again, I don't feel comfortable in in the side of the energy of their dynamic, because it feels awkward for me, because I don't feel that primal urge from him or for him, right? We have great sex. It's really, we have a lot of fun, but I was like, oh, I'm jealous. And then it all came clear for me, because I'm not jealous of them. I'm jealous that I don't have, like I've explained earlier, I have 6 partners, and I'm not having intercourse with any of them. None of them are trying to have a date with me and tear my clothes off, right? They're not, it's not primal. And I realized that what I need is, I need a primal relationship
partner.
I need a primal partner. I need somebody who really just can't wait to get me in bed whenever it is that we're together.
You can borrow mine.
See, you're a sharer too.
Awesome. I'm really not a sharer, but yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness.
You need a break. See, this is what Ev and I had talked about early on in our marriage. Is like, yeah, I need a break. Maybe you could just have somebody else on a side piece, right? You get it, them, and then come cuddle with me. And that's how Sapio and I are. So he has all of the women that he has sex with, and then but he wants to lie next to me at night. He wants to sleep with me at night.
Yeah.
And have that level of heart intimacy.
Yes.
I'm not giving that up, right? I don't care if he doesn't fuck me. He can use a dildo on me if I need him to, right?
Yeah.
Totally fine. So, but that was a really big aha for me.
So what happened? So where are you at with this now?
Well, if you check out my TikToks, I actually talked to both of them about it. We ended up canceling that date because he wasn't feeling well. And the sense of relief I had when he canceled it helped me realize what it was that I was experiencing. And then I talked to both of them, and he spent 15 minutes telling me all the things that are important to him about his relationship with me and what it is that I bring to the table. And it helped me remember that I don't have to have primal with everybody. I'm not necessarily a primal person. When the chemistry is right, I'll have that primal relationship. But just because it's not primal doesn't mean it isn't important. And I know that we love each other in a very contextual way as lovers, not, as married people.
Yeah,
and, sure. So he loves me, he respects me, he treats me with incredible respect. And after talking to him about the fact that I am like surrounded by men who aren't fucking me, he's like, well, let's take care of that. And he did. And it was wonderful. It was really, really, it was really great. So
that's really great. I think that's one of the beautiful things about you too, is that you're able to like reflect and say, okay, what am I missing? And just like you said, I'm surrounded by a bunch of men that again, they just start fucking me. Why? What's going on? I think you guys are both very good at that.
And I'll tell you, part of it is because I live a life and both of us do, in which I recognize that I'm the creator of my life, right? I am one who creates the experience I want to have. Now, sometimes I create experiences I'm not too excited about.
Yeah.
Right? There's plenty of experiences that I've had that sucked. However, my philosophy is if I'm not experiencing joy, I'm experiencing a lesson. And once I get the lesson, I experience joy. So imagine me in the middle of feeling self-critical and not enough. Sad and jealous and frustrated. I'm feeling like, oh my God, this is painful. This jealousy is painful. Why am I always in comparison? Why do I feel like I'm not enough? And now today, in this moment, I can say, thank God that I had those frustrated feelings and that feeling of anxiety, because now and in the moment, I knew that there was going to be a reason I would be happy and joyful for having those feelings, right? So I'm struggling with a negative emotion in the moment, knowing I will be happy for it eventually when I figure out what the lesson is.
Okay.
And so I sought the lesson. I figured it out, and now I'm really grateful for that jealousy. I'm grateful for my jealousy because my jealousy helped me identify what was missing in my life. And I don't have to lose a partner, argue with a partner, or have a problem in order to fix it.
Yeah, really good. Thank you for sharing. I needed to hear that.
Super massive, and it's really powerful. And I commend Lisa over and over again for her ability to do self-inquiry and go inward and to look and see what's coming up for me. Why am I feeling this way? I am the creator of my reality. So what am I creating here? What is my discovery? And, you know, to have the deeper aha moments. This is a walk. It's a practice that Lisa's been doing for years. This isn't something that she woke up one day, and she's had a big journey to get to that place where, without getting triggered, without getting angry, without being resentful, you know, she didn't wake up like this. This was her commitment that she's been doing for years. So I want the listeners to hear that it's like, we get it. We've all been at that starting place of like, what the fuck? But you know, Lisa's such a testament to being open to a deeper thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully not just a testament to it, but an example. Get to the other side of it and be happy. Like the thing is that I'm sure that you may have had a terrible job once, and I have gotten fired from a job that I loved so much. It was the end of the world for me.
Yeah.
And having been fired from that job, I looked for something else. I did something else, and it cracked me wide open. So if I hadn't had a boss who fired me or made me want to quit that job, I would never have found trading, for instance. And then once I found trading, I was like, holy crap, it completely changed my world. If I hadn't become a trader, I wouldn't be polyamorous. That I can say for sure. So getting fired from that job is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Absolutely.
20 years later, I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm happier now than I was in that job. Thinking that was the best job I'd ever had. So I realized that and listen, we're women in our 50s, right? So one of the things that I can count on is the fact that I have had enough experiences in my life and enough failures in my life that I have recovered from to know that I can do anything now and I will get through it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It gives me a level of fearlessness that is helpful. So have you had a negative experience that turned into a positive?
Oh, absolutely. I think every single one of them are. Once you get through it, you know, and again, it's literally, if you step back, it's generally just like a speed bump in life. You look back and say, well, that wasn't that bad. I thought the world was going to come to an end, but man, look where I'm at now.
Right.
Every single one of them have been like that.
Right. And I think that when we're 20, it's the end of the world. And
I know.
So we're 50 that we've had 7 or 8 of those sorts of experiences. And we're like, oh, everything's easy from now.
Exactly.
Right? I'll get to the other side of it. It'll suck. It sucks. And also part of that is maybe I started doing the work early. So I learned that I will get through it. Or I had mentors or coaches who taught me that, you know what, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Thank you for answering my question that I didn't even know what my question was, other than it wasn't just feeling right. So thank you. Communicate
is really
I know. I have a little bit of a challenge with that. You know, you don't want to hear the no or whatever, be wrong or not enough, all those things. But I think it's really important. You guys have showed it time and time again with examples.
Yeah. Well, be sure to check out our website for all the upcoming events that we might have. We have links.
Jess, I think isn't Jess gonna do a couples massage or a couples retreat, and then Yoni, Lisa, I'm sure you're gonna do something as well. So
yep. And we'll be collaborating. So there's always something going on. It's worth checking out our links to find out what we're doing individually and what classes and coaching and things we're offering.
Yes, definitely. Check out our links. Hop on, watch Lisa's TikToks. She has such juicy topics that she's sharing in there and answering questions that are really providing help, illumination, and comfort and all kinds of things for her viewers and everything. There's so much always that we have to share and more to come. So thank you all for listening to this latest episode. So looking forward to sharing our journeys with you on the next one. Bye for now.
Want more? Head over to theplayfulpodcast.com for all the juicy things we have to offer. From there, you can join our community where you can get access to after hours, attend upcoming workshops and events, and even book a session. Bye for now.